Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special Thanksgiving Snap Take. Happy American Thanksgiving to anyone who's celebrating, and I hope everyone else has a wonderful Thursday. Today, we've got four great decks for you, including a deck that I think might actually take over the meta from Toxic Soul King. That's going to be deck number 2, but we're going to kick it off with this Desmond Ronin deck. Yesterday, I told you about a deck that Desmond used to win a major tournament that he was hosting. Well, Desmond actually played two decks. It was a two-deck tournament. The other deck is this Ronin list, which is absolutely incredible. It's a Wiccan Ronin list. Malekith has finally, I think, I wish this ran Maximus, like, because I love running Maximus with Ronin. It's such a big card. But outside of that, I think this deck is damn near perfect, and it's so incredibly strong. If you're the type of person who's been looking for a Ronin deck to play forever, looking for a Ronin deck that can be tier 1, this is for you. This kind of deck is why I ended up being pro Malekith at the end of the day, because Malekith just finds shells and makes these decks so much more consistent than they would be without them. You can find Desmond streaming at youtube.com/@DesmondKorea playing this exact deck. This deck needs Wiccan, Malekith, and Kate Bishop. Grandmaster can be Maximus. There you go. Red Guardian can be Rogue, and Speed can be Gladiator. Now, I want to go back for a second and just note that Red Guardian is significantly better than Rogue here. It's often relatively close between the two, but you're trying to get off a Wiccan here, right? And you very, very rarely want to Mystique on turn 3. Um, just to get your Wiccan going. Well, you don't want a rogue on turn 3. So having Red Guardian, which you do fairly often, are perfectly fine playing as just a 3/5 on turn 3, is a lot better than being forced to play another 3-drop that you don't want to play on curve. So there is that extra thing. That's also why Maximus isn't in the list, because you don't especially want to play Maximus on turn 2 and give your opponent that kind of advantage. Red Guardian can be Rogue, and Speed can be Gladiator. All good. I wish there was another replacement for Speed. You can try something like Juggernaut, but again, we want something that we can do on curve, and there's just not a lot of really good 3s on curve, and you do need something with some power here, because otherwise, when you Iron Man, you just don't have, like, anything big that you're doubling, and you need something big enough to be worth doubling. Doubling a Quicksilver Master Mold Lane doesn't actually do a whole lot for you. All right. So again, second part of the cash tournament winner. So turn 1 is Quicksilver. Turn 2, Kate if no 3. Mold if you don't have Kate. You will happily drop anything on Earth, though. You'll drop a Naked Grandmaster if you must, if Wiccan is in hand. Turn 3, Luke or Speed over Red Guardian. You can also go 2+1 here, obviously. Turn 4, Wiccan over Malekith. Turn 5, Ronin or Iron Man. And if you can do either of those with a 2-drop, that's really great. And then turn 6 is meant to be Mystique and a 3, or Mystique and a 5 if you can Wiccan. You can just go Iron Man Mystique at the end of the game, or Ronin Mystique at the end of the game at that case, which is especially strong if you can do that, like if you see a Malekith on turn 5, and you can go like Malekith and Red Guardian, Malekith and Luke or whatever, Malekith and Speed on turn 4. After you Wiccan, at that point, like, Malekith is fairly likely to hit Mold. If Malekith hits Mold, you know you've just got this crazy, crazy powerful end game play. All right, we're going to take a moment to have a chat, and then we're going to look at an undefeated Gorr Infinity Conquest. But one last look at this Desmond Ronin list right now. Again, this is probably the best Ronin has been on a, like, reasonably long term. We've occasionally had Ronin decks pop up, but they died very quickly. This is a real deck. This is Ronin as a meta deck, finally, for, I think, the first time as a significant force. Give it a try. Speaking of giving it a try, thanks for giving this video a try. If you're willing to, I would be extremely thankful if you would hit that sub button. We are trying to hit 16,000 subs by the end of 2024. We're like 500 away, so if you're willing to hit that sub button, it would mean the absolute world. In return, we give you 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos. It's been almost 2 years. It's been like a year and 6 months. We have missed 0 days since we started going daily. If you're interested in getting the most Marvel Snap content, the best decks from absolute top players before anyone else has them, this is the channel for you. And we are giving away 5 Galactas. This is Galacta giveaway number 3. Every weekday video this week comes with a Galacta in it. All you have to do is sub, like, and then at some point in this video, ask a question. You answer that question in the comments, and you are entered to win. You are entered to win Galacta, the season pass card for December. And now, Toxic Soul King's Infinite Evil. This deck is wildly good. So it's been true for a while. I haven't had the right build, but Wiccan Thanos has just a really, really high win rate. And I keep being shocked by that, right? Wiccan shouldn't be consistent enough to really go off, but when it does go off, you're fundamentally unfreaking beatable. And when it doesn't go off, you still have this powerful Thanos shell. You still have all this straw and all these other powerful things to do. Toxic Soul King decided to add Gorr to this list because I don't know if you know this, but most of the stones are on reveals. So you have all these stones on reveals. You have Gladiator on reveal, Cassandra, Eliath, Wiccan, Shang-Chi, Shadow King, all these on reveals, right? So you can get your Gorr about as big as anything else, outside of Mr. Negative anyway, with this list. You have Mobius to handle opposing Mr. Negative, Red Guardian to handle opposing Iron Man, Shang to handle opposing Gorr, Eliath to handle opposing Gorr. You get the cheap, super cheap Mockingbird. This is a meta deck. I think this is the Thanos we were waiting for when Thanos was recently buffed in the OTA to basically be an extra draw. And so because of that, I think that like we've been looking for the right Thanos list, right? We thought it was arishem. Arishem's Thanos is really strong. I think this is it. I think the Gorr Thanos, maybe it should be called God Butchers. I don't know. It's gonna have a name. I titled it in the title to this, Happy Thanos Gorving. So it could be that. Go which way you want to go with that, friends. But like this is a bunch of major villains, and it's so strong. I cannot urge you to play this deck enough. I'm actually going to do a turn by turn before I do card replacements for what to do. So Psylocke gets you a Wiccan early, which is really strong, right? You draw one, you draw Psylocke, and then all of a sudden you can play Wiccan. That doesn't seem like it should happen all that often, right? But anyone who played Thanos when Professor X was meta realizes that that's not actually that hard to do. You can even often pull that off on turn 3, and then you just have that extra energy on turn 4. It's totally fine and extraordinarily strong. From there, Shadow King is just one of your end turn plays. Shadow King is one of the ways at the end of the game to just say, oops, I win. A lane that you have no business winning. Cassandra Nova, Mobius, and Red Guardian are your tech cards here, along with Shang-Chi. Cassandra Nova says, I don't want to lose to Arishem. If I can, especially if I get a Wiccan off, if I can end a game by going something like Eliath or Gorr with Cassandra Nova, that's usually pretty fucking strong. Mobius says, I don't want to lose to Mr. Negative right now. Thanks very much, all the Ravonna and Mr. Negative decks around. I will just win that matchup. Red Guardian says, all the Iron Man that's around, no thank you very much. Iron Man as a 0 power card is very easy to hit. Gladiator is just a big on reveal. Big stats, gives you information about the opponent, disrupts. If it goes wrong, you're a little sad, but with Gorr, at least you get that power back to some extent. So like that, look, we're just seeing so much less Scar now. I think Gladiator is a good card again. Shang-Chi says, if I mess up my Gladiator, I've got that. If my opponent's playing Gorr or other nonsense, I've got that handled. Don't be afraid to Shang early. Don't be afraid to Shang often. It's crazy strong. Wiccan says I can do broken things, and I'm often unbeatable, right? We know how strong Arishem Thanos is. Well, if you go Wiccan Thanos, you've got a lot of the same combos, except you're just running all good cards. Gorr is now the biggest thing. This is basically the blob slot in this deck, where you just want to run something big, but the blob means you have to run a really, really heavy curve, and Gorr says I can actually just still have a real game plan and go forward. Mockingbird's just like a 3/9. I don't know, 3/9's a lot. You should play 3/9s. Eliath is your fixer. I also picked the Butcher specific Eliath where he's eating the cow. Get it, Butcher? Which I bought because it's gorgeous. Because Eliath is a problem fixer, and Thanos is how you make this all come together. He's the rug that pulls it together. You're fine with him being a 5/10. You're fine with him being a 6/10 that you casually drop into an unreachable location, right? Like people mess that up all the time. Please don't forget what Space Stone does. You're fine with all the discard in the meta, using the whatever stone it is that says he can't get discarded and just being like, boom. If you've got the can't be killed stone, you can just drop him on 5 and be like, I've got a 5 here. Have fun. Super, super great card right now. Also, I forgot to say this. You can Psylocke on on 4 with something else in order to ramp into Eliath, Thanos, or Gorr early, which is also an extremely strong play if you need to go that way as well. All right, so you can find Toxic Soul King, who you must follow. Like, I don't say this often for newer creators, but Toxic Soul King is an absolute must follow on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/Toxic Soul King TTV. This is one of the nicest and most friendly players in Marvel Snap, who's also a top player who plays amazing decks amazingly well. Go follow Toxic Soul King, please. Trust me on this. This deck needs Thanos, Alioth, Mockingbird, and Wiccan. Gorr can be Blob or Magneto. I think Magneto may be better. Maybe it could be Red Hulk too. Mobius can be Gladiator, Cassandra, or Mobius, Gladiator, and Cass can be any good threes. We think Speed, Nocturne, Luke, Juggernaut. Pick your three. Poison. And Red Guardian has to be Rogue if you don't have Red Guardian. All right, this went 10-0 in Infinite Conquest, clearing 2 Infinity Borders, apparently losing almost no games along the frickin' way. Just absolutely dominant, crazy, crazy, crazy strong deck. Turn 1 is draw rocks. Turn 2, draw or Psylocke into Wiccan. Turn 3, if you can Wiccan, you should Wiccan. If not, also, please, for the love of God, snap that. Turn 3 is either Wiccan or Mobius or Gladiator. You can also go like Psylocke and 2-drops here. Totally fine. Um, Turn 4, Wiccan or Mockingbird. Turn 5, Thanos or Mockingbird. Turn 6, Alioth or Gorr. And sometimes you end up playing that Gorr or Alioth or whatever early with your Psylocke, with your Wiccan. If you can play Alioth or Gorr at the end of the game, you play them with a 2-drop. You play them with extra stones for extra power. Or if you get a 5-cost Thanos on turn 6, you can play a 5-cost Thanos with one of your tech cards. Or you can play like Shang and something else. Shang and Gladiator and a stone. And just there's a million combinations of a million power that this deck is able to put out and really, really dominate the meta. We're going to look at one more Gorr list after we look at top player thoughts for Gorr. After this, we've got a ton of top players' thoughts for Gorr. But again, I think this is a meta list. I think this is where we want to be with Thanos right now. I cannot urge you to play this enough. I am wildly impressed. I had not been on Thanos. I thought Thanos was overrated. This deck might be pushing me the other direction. It's early yet, but I think this deck is pushing me to consider Thanos as a real thing, a real threat again. All right, so Toxic Soul King says Gorr is a really solid contender for card of the season. Toxic Soul King also has like 5 Infinity Borders with Gorr this season. He's just saying, like, arguing that this card is absolutely stellar in all these shells, and it's working super well for him in all these different shells. So we'll feature more Toxic Soul King Gorr decks. I asked him which one is the best. He said Thanos, so I tried the Thanos, and oh my goodness, that's why I featured it there. Space says this is an above average but easily counterable card. It will have homes. Ekmati says 6 big is good. It doesn't require a lot of thought. This is a 6 big. Shuri Enjoyer says this is the new Rolk and can solo lane. Sizer says if you can play him on 5, he's good. And let's keep that in mind when we get down to what Johnson says way below. Safety Blade says limited. Negative is still bad. Safety hates negative. Someone else here will love negative. We'll get there. Comies says this is a fusion of Ajax and Blob. The power of the former with the playability of the latter. Super strong in many decks. I think that's a really, really interesting take. Because I think Ajax is very playable. He means that Blob used to be playable by not requiring any real support. It was just a card you could throw into your deck and play at the end of the game, and then you had as much power as you can get. Right? So you could just sort of do that with Gorr in a lot of ways. Abra says this is just another big boy and strongest when you can ramp. So Abra agrees particularly with Sizer here. Dickens says quite good. You can build around it or put it in just a good card shell. It's like Rolk on release. So that's more or less what Comey says. More or less what Shuri Enjoyer says. Nithiel says better than Extracted, strong but not broken. And no one seems to think this is broken. Johnson says with no Professor X, 6 finishers aren't good. We need to find another lane winner on 5, which I think is, again, notable when we talk about ramp. The best versions of Gorr decks seem to have some kind of ramp in them, whether that ramp be Ravonna, whether that ramp be Psylocke, Wiccan, something. They have a way to mess with this card. It's a card you can play on 6, but the reason I haven't liked bounce with this card is that even though you can play this on 6, I think it's much, much, much better if you can play it earlier, even with Shang-Chi as a card that exists. All right. Ava says Frigga better than Fenris, better than Gorr, better than Surtur. Ava's got Frigga in everything right now, and Fenris in everything right now. We're gonna take a look at a card with a deck with 3 of these from Ava in a minute. So whatever. W and Safety disagree like constantly on these, and I think it's fascinating because they're both such amazing deck builders. But W says people are making it work in negative, which is fine, can have its place. And lastly, Roram, another top 100 player, says this is extremely strong, a great finisher. Best in bounce, Thanos, Agent Venom so far. I agree with Thanos and Agent Venom. We got to feature the Ravonna Agent Venom shell at some point, but we'll get there. For the time being, however, I think Thanos is best, and Bounce is sort of overrated. I think Bounce is just, if you listen to last week's podcast where Sizer, Den, and I did top 10 card decks in Marvel Snap, I think Bounce is the best deck, and I think it's good enough that it can support Gorr, but I don't think it like actually wants Gorr in it. All right, EvaZord is our next deck. This is EvaZord's deck. Basically just says I can use Gorr as a top end finisher for my Fenris Wolf bullshit. And because I've got my Fenris Wolf bullshit, right, I can also just casually have a Ghost Rider in here. Like, so, yeah, sure. Sometimes I'm going to hit Ghost Rider, right? I'm never going to hit Fenris Wolf if I don't want to, but sometimes I'm going to hit Ghost Rider. If I hit Ghost Rider, I can just play a Giant Gorr. If I hit Giant Gorr, I can just play the Ghost Rider and get it back. And so there's no downside to that, and you get the extra card out of it from Fenris Wolf. So it's like discard a card. You don't actually really lose one, and you draw a card as an exchange, and it's pretty damn good. Blade gives you an extra way to do this along with Moon Knight, as do, and obviously, so, yeah. That's what I was just trying to say. I'm just repeating myself. And then Frigga is just a way to get like extra whatever you need. All right, so twitch.tv/EvaZord is where we can find Eva. Please check out Eva. He's Brazilian, but he speaks English perfectly, and he's an amazing, amazing Marvel Snap player. He's the best player I've ever seen at predicting what opponents do. This deck needs Fenris and Sage. Gorr can be Red Hulk or Magneto. Gorr is better than Red Hulk or Magneto, but the change is fine. Frigga is here for largely. Okay, so I asked specifically. Frigga is here for the following. It's really good on turn 4 with Hydra Bob. It's really good with Sage in particular. If you go Sage on 3 on like a Blade or a Hydra Bob Fenris location, then you can play Frigga on that the next turn, and then you can do your discard stuff discard stuff with Fenris or discard stuff with Blade on the next turn, and then you just have this extra Sage to play with your stature and stuff at the end of the game. That's often huge, and that's really, really powerful. You can also just get a second Fenris Wolf. You can go Fenris Wolf, Frigga, Fenris Wolf, and then if you go Moon Knight and Black Bolt, you get both those cards back, which is not amazing, but not terrible. It's at least interesting and useful. And then Frigga for Hydra Bob, right? Just you're playing 4 stats for 8, and then you get an extra 1/5, and like 1/5s are good. Then you can go 1/7 and 1/5 at the end of the game. That's just a ton of power. Ask Doctor Doom. So that's what Frigga is here for. Really worth noting, but not required. Gladiator, Mobius, Cassandra, etc. are all fine. Gladiator gives you an extra way to kill something, which is pretty good for Fenris Wolf. Hydra Bob can be Gladiator. I think you actually need Hydra Bob if you outside of Gladiator. Hydra Bob is a card I think you should go buy right now if you don't own Hydra Bob and you have the tokens. I don't think that there's a card that makes deck building easier right now than Hydra Bob. I think he is the new Jeff. Red Guardian can be Rogue, and Proxima can be Swarm. And that's kind of it. Proxima is better than Swarm, but Swarm's fine. Swarm has much to speak for it. That works out just fine. All right, so this is one of the top win rate cores in the game right now. Turn 1, you want Hydra Bob, you Blade if you have a good target. Turn 2 is Fenris Wolf over 1. Turn 3 is Sage or Frigga on Fenris if you have 2 discards, or you can Moon Knight or you can Proxima. Turn 5, Frigga on Sage or Moon Knight or Ghost Rider. Good. Turn 5, Black Bolt or Fenris and Moon Knight, or a second Sage and Fenris. Sometimes it's first fit Sage and Fenris, that's fine. And then turn 6 is you just sort of combo off with Sage, Stature, Trigger, Fenris. Sometimes you'll go Stature and Ghost Rider here. And if you can go Stature, second Hydra Bob with Ghost Rider, you've played 7, 5, and then you've got the 4, right? So you're already at a 16 power play, and that's before you just freaking brought back a Gorr. So that's, pretty damn good. Yeah, this list is awesome. I think you should try it. I think you will. It takes a little while to learn, but Avalists benefit from predicting opponents, but this is extremely strong and worth messing with. Season Pass question. Want to win a Season Pass? Answer this question in the comments. Do you still Conquest? How do you feel about the mode? What do you think of it right now? Where are you on Conquest? Because I think I'm going to do a bunch of Infinite Conquest decks in tomorrow's video. Just curious how interested you are. I'm also going to do a bunch of weekend mission decks, so have no fear. Stream Team, if you're interested in checking out some gameplay from these decks, check out the Stream Team. It is Thursday, and luckily, even since in America it's Thanksgiving, it is not Canadian Thanksgiving. That's a different time. So go celebrate American Thanksgiving with the King of Canada, who will be streaming at 12 p.m. Eastern. Enjoy it. while you kill time with family Americans. And if you just have regular day, go check out the King Canada. GamingwithFlashX will hopefully have a video up later about yesterday's decks. Finally, we have our second Annihilus deck in 2 days, and I think Annihilus might be coming back because we're seeing a lot of like big stuff happen, and it's not really clogging lanes as much anymore. So Rutmus took this into Conquest and dominated. He changed Nico for Viper and then climbed hundreds of ranks in ladder too. Annihilus Werewolf was, for a time in January, one of the very best decks in the game, and it seems like it might be back as a genuine, serious threat. So we're going to take a look at what this does. Oops, that's still Miley. My bad. So this is from Rutmus, who does not have socials. Miley's was yesterday. This list needs Annihilus, Zabu, Antivenom, and Werewolf. Annihilus and Werewolf were in a cache together last week, so if you happen to get them, that's great. If you, especially if you have Antivenom, and then Zabu is just a requirement here, but is a Series 4 card. Nico can be Viper, and Toxin can be Carnage. Nice and simple. So this has had success in Conquest and Ladder. Turn 1, you want Zabu over Hood over Iceman. Turn 2 is basically just two ones, multiple ones. Turn 3 is Werewolf. Over anything else, if you don't have Werewolf, you can get your bounce going. Turn 4 is Sentry or Antivenom. Antivenom is really good, in particular, if either Sentry or Annihilus is still in the deck. That's when you want Antivenom. Clear? So if you have still in deck either Sentry or Annihilus, because that's what you're trying to hit with Antivenom. If not, you're going to bounce all your ones. And if you haven't seen Werewolf or Sentry or Annihilus or Antivenom, and you're not bouncing ones, you're running, right? Because you can also end up bouncing these void just fine instead of worrying about playing Annihilus. So turn 5 can be Annihilus or replay ones. It could also be replay ones and then bounce your void/hood and just have a bunch of demons to end the game too. Turn 6, control card, Shang, Enchantress, Shadow King. Don't forget, if you anti-venom, just Shadow, that's the lane. You're going to play the anti-venom card in the lane you want a Shadow King because that will restore your card's power. That's it. Really, really simple. This one absolutely steals cubes. Shang and Enchantress together with Zabu is incredibly strong. Zabu is damn near a snap condition all by himself in this list. I think this is a really, really, really must-play list. I think like genuinely great. Beast used to be in versions of this, right? But Beast wasn't there to like bouncing the ones was always fine, right? But Beast's real power here was like you were often using it to get rid of your hoods and your voids, and you were never replaying those damn cards anyway. So Toxin here is absolutely stellar. This list is awesome, and I cannot urge you to try it enough. I think Annihilus is genuinely back and genuinely becoming a meta force again. Gotta find a way to fit like a US agent or something in this, but that's neither here nor there. This list is really strong right now and very, very effective. Welcome back to Annie Wolf. So congrats to Rutmus for this very cool build. Questions of the day. We're going to start with one. Fire Troll asks if I agree that Shadow King should be a 3. Nope, I don't think so. There's a larger question about buffs that should be reverted, but I'm going to have to do a giant segment on that, and I didn't have time to research tonight. But yeah, I think absolutely Shadow King should be a 2. I think a 2/2 is the right stat line here. I think as a 3, he's largely unplayable, and I don't like that. The game is healthier by having Shadow King as a powerful and effective card in it. Tonight I went to see Moana 2, and if anyone, I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but my quick review is it is Moana 1 without the heart. Moana 1 was both emotional affecting, and the songs were absolute bangers. This one had no songs, even a few hours after it, that I found notable or memorable. And I can literally immediately think of like 10 songs from the first one. I don't know. I didn't think Moana 2 was anything special. I didn't think it was it's a movie that I will immediately forget. It is Moana 1. It is almost exactly the same movie as Moana 1. They literally do 90% of the same plot, except all the character growth already happened. So it's just a bunch of static characters going about their business. And finally, happy American Thanksgiving to those who celebrate. I'm amazingly thankful for this channel and this community that we've built here. You're all wonderful people, and thank you so much for the love and support. Special thanks go out to the Patreons at patreon.com/snapjudgments. The $10 Patrons got a thanks every video. So thank you to Abigail Giesland, happy Thanksgiving. Mandatory Burnout, happy Thanksgiving. It regardless, happy Thanksgiving. David G. Wingfield, happy Thanksgiving. Okay, I'm not going to do this for every name. That's going to take an hour. Dirty Casual, Danton, and LAB, happy Thanksgiving. FaThorNewman, happy Thanksgiving. I hope the kids feel better. Good Dog Gamer, happy Thanksgiving. Ink, happy Thanksgiving. My eyes itch. I'm so sorry. All right. This is still taking forever. I am Frostman. Hey, Frostman. Jean Nari. Thinking Poker. Prime Bryant, Ryan Burke, and Ryan Wood. Happy Thanksgiving, my friends. Caretix Lee and Koi Ray. Happy Thanksgiving. Black Dahlia, Prayer Frozen, the Goat Seeker, Alliance Leaders. Happy Thanksgiving. Hallowed. My eyes itch so much. All right. I can't do this. I'm flying through. Quid Pro Joe. Snap Decisions Joe. Happy Thanksgiving, friends. Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle. Happy Thanksgiving, Ginger Prime. Philip Rakovich, you're not from America. Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone. Rob Silverman, The Bizza, and Black Jeebus. Happy Thanksgiving, all. Expert C and Skibby G and Jessica Gamble G. Happy Thanksgiving, all of you. Timey Nyquist, who won Champions League Season 1. Happy Thanksgiving. The King of Bros, the Great Kazoo, Kev Z, Hoda, Luna Chris, Corwin, John Q, Jim McHugh, Clam, Colonel Forbin, and 8th Sage. Happy Thanksgiving, one and all. Mod Supreme Models, who we got to Infinite hanging out on Discord yesterday. So congrats to Models on that Infinite. Green Frickin' Goblin. Happy Thanksgiving, Unibot Flan. Happy Thanksgiving, real names: Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B. Happy Thanksgiving, The Fuzzy Anonymous, Spectrum Mix, Hoot, Matt H., DJ Mackie Hijinks, No Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Greg Sterry, BG. Happy Thanksgiving. And now we're on to Streamer Town, Zodrex, King of Canada. Happy Thanksgiving to two of my favorite streamers, two of my favorite YouTubers, Denman Falcon and Jonesy. Happy Thanksgiving. The great Two Ties. Much love and respect. Two Ties messaged me. I got to talk to you about something. The great Laura Madevs, the Pirate King Tuccrr, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for Happy Thanksgiving. What the fuck is Gorr doing here? What the fuck is that doing here? I don't know where my last slide went. Apparently I moved it somewhere. We're gonna end on this. Make sure you click the links if you missed some earlier in the week videos. They're right there. Sub right below, and I'll see you tomorrow for another Snap Take. Peace.